Krishna. How many chanted 32 rounds or more? Almost everybody. Did anybody chant 48 rounds? Did anybody chant 64 rounds? Wow. 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 Who chanted more than 64 rounds? If we had a 64 round day, you'd probably be in the 100s somewhere. Because we ended early. Well, scheduling wise, there was a debate about whether to have this 32 round day when we knew everybody would be here and then could take part in the sharing, or to do it as we did it, which is many people had to go back to where they came from, and so we won't have their presence while we're doing the sharing. But that one won because it seemed that was fitting at the end to have our 32, 48, 64 round day and fewer people here to share. But you're leaving. You're leaving. Huh? Train. Where are you going? Indianapolis. Bloomington? Niladri. Okay. Thank you for being with us. Well, the audience really thinned out. Maybe some others will trickle in or something like that. So, this is a time we can ask devotees to volunteer to share what their experience was today, specifically during the chanting of however many rounds you chanted. And if there's something else you'd like to share about what the experience was the whole time, that's nice too. And specifically indicate how many rounds you chanted and a little bit what your experience was and what you found to be most helpful or supportive during this extended chanting. So, who would like to volunteer? Okay. Here comes the microphone.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I did 32. That was the first time I've ever did 32.
First time?
I think I started doing 16 the day of Lord Narasimha's appearance day. So it was very recent that I started 16, maybe a month ago.
A month ago. You started 16 rounds a month ago.
Yeah, so I didn't think I would be able to do 32. I really didn't think I could do it, to be quite honest. Like when I was doing it, I still didn't think I could do it.
Speak slowly because...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a little feedback. Some people aren't used to hearing...
Yeah, New York.
us New Yorkers speak. So we have to speak slowly.
Okay.
Because our accent is something they can't understand, what to speak of fast.
What accent?
We have an accent to their ear, as they have an accent to our ear. So we have to speak slowly and clearly.
Okay, so I'll start over.
You were chanting 16 rounds for 1 month.
Yes, and I didn't think I could do 32 today.
Uh-huh.
Just because, like, sometimes when I'm doing 16, I feel like I'm dying, you know? That's honesty. Sometimes it's very hard. Maybe it might be, the energy here is different down here in Chicago. It's slower. It's kind of easier to focus on chanting.
Yeah, Chicago's a slow city.
Yeah.
Compared to New York.
Yeah, New York.
She lives in Manhattan.
The current just takes you and you can't even focus on chanting. And then the energy isn't, it's not potent, you know, like unless you do it at home.
Slowly.
Sorry. So when I was doing the 32 today, I didn't think I could do it even when I was doing it. But I did it. And I found that maybe after 20 rounds, the focus was there, you know what I mean? Like the focus on Krishna and what I was meditating on stood there. Like I didn't have to worry about it moving anymore. My focus was there, but the endurance was the issue. Like the endurance to continue, it was kind of like, you know, kind of going down. Uh-huh. And also my hand was cramping pretty bad.
Really?
Yeah. But I found that I had a little realization while I was chanting, which was that I should really take shelter of Krishna more. And that is the reason why my life is the way it is because he wants me to take shelter, full shelter. So I realized that.
I hope you realize it tomorrow and the next day.
I hope so.
The next day.
I've been praying about that I can continue this way, because once I get to New York, it's very hard. Very hard. But I'm hoping that maybe this time it'll last longer than it did after Gitanagari.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it. And overall, I guess I would say that I really enjoyed my time in Chicago. It was great.
Okay.
I liked the slow energy. It was a relaxation from New York. And I was able to really own in on my spirituality or my myself, my true self. And that was very good. So thank you.
Many people don't think of the city of Chicago as a lightweight place. But if you're from New York, it's a break.
It was suburban enough for me. Enough agriculture, I don't need more. This was good. I like it here. It's nice.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Sharing from the men's side. Right behind you by your left shoulder. No, behind you, behind you. You didn't volunteer, but I'm volunteering you. Because you chanted very nicely today. How many rounds did you complete?
60 rounds.
How many?
60.
60. 60.
Yes.
Congratulations. So now some sharing with what your experience was like?
In one of your lecture, you were telling the pastime of Nachiketa.
Which one?
Nachiketa one.
Nachiketa, okay.
And he was asked to get the fire from
hell.
Yamloka. So he went to Yamraj and he asked, can you give me the fire? And all over there is fire. And he said, I don't have any fire. People bring that fire with them. And then you connected that story to chanting. Like chanting can really extinguish that blazing fire that we carry all the time with us. So it was a game-changing moment for me, I guess.
How did
Because,
that narration connect with your chanting today?
I mean, if this is the only way,
And you felt it? Describe your experience.
yeah, this is what I felt like. If I can't do it right today, when so many nice, wonderful devotees are chanting from their heart and soul in your presence, in front of Kishore Kishori, then when I will chant.
So this was your opportunity.
Yes.
And the shower of Krishna's mercy came down to put out the fire?
Yes. And one Mataji came and she said, how many rounds you chanted? And I said 60, and she said, no, you might have chanted more. And I said, see, these 4 are left. And they will be the hardest to chant because now.
Okay. Nice.
I'll try to finish 64 today.
Okay. Someone else would like to volunteer, or I know the art of volunteering, those that don't raise their hand. Okay. How many rounds were you able to complete today so far?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, I completed 84 rounds.
84. What time were you up this morning?
1:30.
1 o'clock.
1:30.
1:30, excuse me.
That was following your tip, start early.
Yeah, you did.
And thank you so much for this opportunity, Guru Maharaj. This is like a very significant transformation kind of experience for me. One thing you were mentioning last evening class, don't just do it to check the box. That somehow touched me deeply because for last 2 or 2.5 years I have been doing, okay, I have to complete tick mark, okay, that's all done. So somehow it struck, and it actually resonated something Prem Tarangni Mataji shared with me a couple weeks back. We don't achieve Krishna with our endeavors, but we just receive Krishna through offering our heart. So both the messages.
Say it again, slower.
We don't achieve Krishna with our endeavors, but we can receive Krishna by offering our heart. Chant in that receiving mode. That's what Mataji told me. And your message actually connected to that. And couple things actually helped me to be in that receiving mode. The personal sharings from the senior devotees, it was very significant. Actually, after that 4 or 5 hours, I could see that my heart, so much block was there. I could see that it got lightened up, especially seeing their strong shelter and security in their relationship with the spiritual master and the holy name. It was amazing. So that kind of made me to open up my heart. And then the other 2 things which helped quite a bit, as you were describing Raghunath Das Goswami's pastime, how much he has valued the gift, and you have been emphasizing in almost all the classes. So I was like in deep meditation, really praying for his mercy for me to realize the gift that I have received in my life. And this morning's beautiful meditation, it actually helped me. So I was like really connecting to that and really seeking his mercy. And there were 2 rounds, I think after 50th round or something. I just don't know what was it. I never felt like that earlier, that I was like literally, I don't know how to express that experience, but I just want to keep chanting. I never felt like some kind of tangible thing with the holy name. 2 rounds. That actually kept me going beyond 64, seeking that experience, but didn't come back. The other thing, Prem Tarangni Mataji shared the meditation on the lotus feet of the Lordships.
Yeah.
And we have those images over there.
Yes.
Two
That was
things-
intentional, to connect just by an image the whole presentation.
Yeah. Two things connected to me, particularly one thing, the curved line coming all the way down. So I was literally like, while I was holding my beads, I was kind of thinking, this is only my lifeline. I don't have anything else. And the other thing was umbrella.
You got a lot of things.
Maybe that's what helped me to chant to Maharaj.
Umbrella. What was
Umbrella.
what's the umbrella one?
Umbrella on
Yes.
Srimati Radharani's lotus feet,
Yes.
that's what I was looking. And that actually connected to one of my favorite words in Srimad Bhagavatam, Dvandvata Patrad Amritabhivarsha. So it was a very wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
Okay, who's going to follow up that one? Yes, Madhava, Guranga.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
You were able to complete how many rounds today?
I was able to complete 32 rounds.
Okay.
And my japa in itself is not very strong since I joined Krishna consciousness. Particularly, it's very sleepy japa. I had some positive realizations and some negative. I saw both some positive things and negative things
Today.
during this japa period. It's kind of funny. It's like my bead bag is like this magical bag where as soon as I put my finger in, my mind immediately vacates and goes 1,000,000 miles per hour. And it doesn't come back until I take my finger out of the bag. Then it seems like it's calm and peaceful.
It's not, you're not the only one that has shared that experience.
So, you said one thing during this last session where you were talking about leaving Krishna's presence and just turning your back and walking away without even saying goodbye. And I had heard that we had turned our backs to Krishna and we had left, but it didn't really click. But when you said this, I was meditating on it during the later rounds, and I came to understand that I've not only done that to people in my life, but then I've also had that done to me by one of my parents. And so meditating on what, just how it made me feel was kind of an intense experience that it really made me understand that maybe I should turn back to Krishna because it doesn't feel very good.
No.
And what to speak on a bigger scale with and I was thinking Krishna even knows what's going to happen to us, and still we didn't even say goodbye. And I remember when someone left me and didn't say goodbye, and it was still,
very rude.
Still trying to get through it. So the realization I had was, well, how do I turn back to Krishna? How do I turn back to Krishna? I was thinking, well, the only, you turn your attention to the holy name. And turning your attention to, or at least turning your attention to the holy name is one way that I can practice turning back to Krishna, is turning my attention
That's it.
there to that.
That's it. You got it. Stay with it. The struggle is that. The disposition to turn away. That's the struggle. And then we go to face and we turn away. That's the struggle. The tranquility or the peace of mind when your hand's not in your bead bag, that's not tranquility at all. It's lulling our consciousness into La La Land, and then turn to Krishna, and that's what's going on. That distraction, it's the rebelliousness. Deep. There's a, just in response to this, one devotee was, in the course of one of these gatherings, a Japa retreat kind of gathering, shared with me afterwards they took exception to the prayer, the mood of praying when chanting, "Krishna, please accept me." And their reasoning or their feeling was, why do we need to pray like that? Because Krishna's kind and Krishna's inviting us, so why do we need to do that? It was disturbing to them. Of course Krishna accepts us. Why would we have to ask Krishna to accept us? And they stayed disturbed for a while. And then some time passed, and they happened to read something that Bhaktivinoda Thakur said exactly that. And it's very similar to the sharing that you presented. Of course, Krishna is kind. When you leave someone's companionship, friendship, etc., and just don't even say see you later, it's just you're gone. How's the other person going to feel? So why would Krishna want? We're rebels. But Krishna is inviting us anyway. So the prayer like that is for our heart's sake, not to soften Krishna's heart, saying, "Please accept me." It's our hard-heartedness that's the prayer is meant for. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote something that's just like that, with expressions of humility. I'm unqualified. I'm this and I'm that. I'm unworthy. But you're my only hope. So please accept me back in your association. It's from our side, it's not from Krishna's side. Okay. Can you give the microphone to this enthusiastic Mataji who wants to share with us?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
How many rounds did you chant today?
40.
40.
Yeah. So first I started my chanting with a prayerful mood, thanking the deities for on behalf of my family members for the mercy that they showered on us to bring to this stage. And then I continued with the instruction that you told, while chanting the Krishna's name, Krishna is looking at you, and your attention should not go away from that. You should have the, meditate on Krishna. So that instruction
Speak slowly.
Sure, Maharaj. So I hold on to that instruction that every time that Krishna is looking at me, so I should not make my mind to go away from that attention. And that.
How well did you do in that?
Yeah, I did really good.
You did?
Yes, Maharaj.
Really?
With the other two more thing which you told in the class, like with the Raghunath Das Goswami's pastime and Raghunath Das Goswami pastime.
Yeah. Just speak slowly.
Sure.
She's a high-speed lady. I have to keep putting the brake pedal on with her. Go ahead.
And Sanatan Goswami pastime. So those two things just went in deeper into my heart, like how they are like meditating like so deeper, you know, that inspired me a lot, and that also I took as an to follow while chanting and your instructions. So these 3 things I followed today to do my chanting really on deeper meditation on the deities. So I felt like I really did good all the rounds, mostly like maybe the last couple of rounds except for that. I felt very nice, Maharaj. And my realization was just one thing. You know, the Vaishnava Aparat, which you showed the picture, that cute elephant, little elephant.
Say it slower again. To the Vaishnava
Aparat. You showed a picture.
Which one?
The little cute elephant taking shower in the falls, under the falls.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. That I really liked it, actually. That was very funny and cute, and the elephant was playing with the water, splashing the water coming out through his trunk out. So that picture, it just came in my mind, and the next picture, that, you know, it's putting the sand on thing. So I was kind of little, you know, thought that I should work on this part, even starting from home now, because at home first, to work on that part of Vaishnava Aparat, starting from home, because, you know, now I have to be more careful to talk to my daughter, and she will be happy now.
Music to her ear. She'll remind you tomorrow.
Yes, she already started, man.
Okay.
And to my husband, so I'm taking that
These
as
4 daughters, they can relate to what you're saying. I'm sure of it.
So that's a takeaway message for me, that I have to work on that part. But my chanting was really very good this time. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, you're volunteering without my having to call on you.
Well,
how did you do today?
I don't know. It was better than my everyday rounds. So actually last night I was wanting to chant today with faith, because you spoke a lot about the 10 offenses.
Yes.
And I think I walked in on the part where you were talking about the offense of not having faith in the power of the holy name. So since I got the holy name so easily, I always take it for granted. And so I wanted today...
You stayed with it.
Yeah, I wanted today to be me focusing on having faith.
The faith element.
Yeah, believing that when I'm chanting, Krishna's actually listening to me, and that he's actually there, and that it's real, like it's all real.
And
it was good. I mean, I tried. It was up and down as usual, but the times that were up were really nice, and like it wasn't. I mean, I didn't have any expectation, because we're not supposed to have any expectations. But it was. What surprised me was after the 32 rounds, I didn't really feel like keeping on going. I kind of felt like I'm done. I finished. Which was kind of like, I wish that I wanted to want to keep chanting, but I didn't feel that way at the end. So I was surprised. I mean, I want to keep chanting this way.
So you want to be?
I wanted to want to keep chanting.
You wanted to continue chanting, but you didn't feel like it.
No. Yeah.
And so, then you said something?
I mean, some things that helped me focus while chanting.
Okay.
I stayed in one spot the entire time. I didn't move, because if I move, I will get distracted. Also, having you in the temple room was very helpful, because it just felt like there was support. Like I wasn't alone, and I felt like I could, I felt a lot of support. I don't know why, but I did. I felt that way. And another thing that I kept remembering was one of our youth retreats at TSI. Kalakant Prabhu had told us that we should offer our heart to Krishna, no matter what it looks like. So even if it's like...
That's a nice phrase.
Yeah, even if it's like black and fungusy and gross, you basically just tell Krishna, this is all I have. So
Very
this
good.
is all I can offer.
Very good.
So like while I was chanting, all these horrible thoughts about like things that I don't want to think about, like even like thoughts of faults of other devotees and things that are just horrible kept coming in my mind, and I was like, Krishna, this is all I have. Like, it's fungus, it's gross, it's nasty, but it's all I have. And that was really helpful because I felt like just knowing that Krishna is so kind. And yesterday, you in response to somebody's question, you had said like asking for forgiveness. One way to get forgiveness from Krishna is to try not to do the same mistake over and over again.
Yeah.
So I felt like every time that I would...
We've had this discussion before.
Right.
Right.
And your example of stepping on someone's toe really stuck with me, because I do that to her sometimes. But yeah, so I was trying to stay focused and not always stray away, because that's doing the same mistake over and over again, just like saying, Krishna, I want you, and then never mind.
So did the faith, contemplation, and motivation, did it stay up and down a bit, but it stayed with you the whole way?
Yeah.
Mostly.
Mostly, right. When I was focused, I was focused on the faith part of it.
Well, if you don't mind, you've been very forthcoming. When the faith kind of went down, you know, awareness, and it would be helpful. You don't even need to answer me publicly right now, but when that focus starts to fade, that's a real important, like, you know, what's the prompt? In other words, I really like what you said about the way that you started, because great. And then, so I'm with it, and I'm with it, and I'm with it. So is it something out there, a prompt out there that triggers taking your attention away? Or I just start getting lazy and la-di-da and complacent, and then, so is it something out there, or some lack of bhakti inside that fades? You follow the question?
Mm-hmm. I think it might be a mix of both.
Okay, I was going to say that too, or a combination of both. One of the best ways, because this was coming up in this, you know, how do we avoid the offenses? And I was giving these two options. One is, you know, what the danger is, what the risk or, you know, difficult territory is like, and you're cautious about it. But then the other side is just be, you know, stay very attentive. And attentive in a mood of faith. So in the immature stage, or less than mature stage, it's going to be up and down, and that's going to be part of what causes something out there to prompt a distraction that takes you away from what you really want to contemplate and how you want to contemplate it. But the greater strength is over here in the faith side. So this is advice. When you see, whoa, I'm drifting, you know, whatever that point in time comes, hit the pause button, and rather than struggle over here with the distraction, come back over here with the light, with the spiritual energy of with faith, taking shelter in Krishna. And he makes himself so easily available through his name. So, I mean, not just why not, but yes. And you just, cultivation-wise, over the next week, 2 weeks, 1 month, continue, because you started with that. It was something that you wanted to do. So stay with it. And what you'll find is the driftiness will want to come in, because you're not used to that territory. You're used to that territory. But so just reinvest, pause button, with faith. And something that will help you is why. Some part of the earlier discussion, when we're talking about why are we doing this anyways? Why are we having a festival of the holy name anyways? Why we chant the holy name anyways? Why chant with faith? So invest in the why question, and then with the why question activated, the why purpose activated, then the what? With faith, because it'll take me to Krishna's association. And in Krishna's association, this other distraction stuff, it's creeping into my consciousness, subsides. Over here, just reset, why, what, and then invest. Consciousness over here. Sat leaves aside the asat. It's an important lesson for all of us, but I can say just from our exchanges, that's a real good one for you to stay with. You picked it, and there's a good reason that you picked it. Got it? Looking on the men's side. Okay, Giridhari.
Hare Krishna. I chanted 48 rounds.
48?
Yeah. One experience or realization that I had, a really strong realization, was I was meditating on the verse Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam. Just the amount of time, like I think I was chanting straight from like 8:30 to like 1:30, so like 4 hours. After like 2-3 hours, I was meditating on this verse, and I was just like, I had this strong realization just from that amount of time being absorbed in the same activity, like that things were just like falling away from me, like things of the past, like designations, which were just like, I had this experience or like feeling that they were being like taken away, like just like almost like I'm just like forgetting about the past, and I'm becoming more realized of who I actually am and where I'm going, becoming more firm in my identity in Krishna consciousness, and things are just kind of falling away. So I was realizing that, and just like within the Japa period today, and also just within this whole weekend, just being so absorbed, all the Harinam, all the classes, it's like just one weekend, and so busy with devotional activities that like who knows how much has just fallen away from my like contaminated consciousness.
Scrubbanum.
So that was one of my main realizations.
You follow how this message is the same thing that I was saying to you? So, thank you. You've done? You finished? You want to say something? Let me just interject. Then you say something more. What I gathered from what you said was, it's not specifically that you were trying to cast away remembrances and thoughts of past stuff, but rather because of focus on the verse and the mantra that was carrying you to the essence of the verse, things were just being taken away. That's what's the power of the name and the power of the focus on the name in a certain mood. It just happened. The power of the name took you to that place where past and temporary and phantasmagoria just was replaced by something else, the power of the holy name. In a sense, so it must have been not just things were going away, but a sense of connection. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. Yes?
One of my main distractions in chanting is I'm always thinking about the future, and especially, I don't know, I really get caught up in like how I want to serve in the future. Like I get really excited about all these ideas that I have. I think most of them are really good ideas, but I think it distracts me. In one sense, I know it's distracting me from really
being in the moment.
Yeah.
Being with Krishna.
Yes, yeah.
In the moment.
Yeah.
You're not a Buddhist.
But it also, I can't help it and I can't stop it. And I don't
Yes, you can. Well, Krishna can. You can by being with Krishna. And then it's whatever it is okay. Can I respond? Somebody else over the weekend was sharing a similar phenomena that they struggle with. It was the husband and the wife was just kind of giggling. He's, saying, yeah, that's what he's like. Worries too much about the future. Just, too much. So, because of that, it takes one away from being with Krishna. And that takes one away from the sense of satisfaction. So I'm in anxiety, wanting satisfaction, so I have to plan it. It's one thing to want to do your best for Krishna, and you certainly have to have a plan how to serve Krishna in the best way. And there's so many options. And then, the kaleidoscope keeps moving and the picture looks different, and the next moment it looks different, the next moment it looks different. And they're just forever adjusting without the essence, being with Krishna essence. Some plan. Now, you say you can't help it, but that's just the chariot that you're riding. And slow down. I had a driver's license when I was 16. But now that I'm a senior citizen, I hardly ever drive. I'm always being driven by different people. So I get to experience silently different driving styles. And some people have to be in the fast lane, whether they're going fast or slow. Some people are in the middle lane, and they're driving very safely. They let cars pass them by, and they're not in an anxiety. Their safety is their thing. Anyway, so different styles. And some people, anyway, besides all the variety of styles. To reach the goal, which is pleasing Krishna, it really doesn't matter whether it's this plan or that plan. The goal is pleasing Krishna. There's many plans that can be pleasing to Krishna. Even personal plans that could be pleasing to Krishna. So many. But the essence is not the plan. The essence is the mood of trying to please Krishna. And the doership mentality is what's behind the planning. Too much planning is doership. So, what to do about the doership mentality? Get into just the servant of Krishna mentality. He'll preserve what I have and carry what I lack. Yoga kshema vahamyaham. So I need a good plan. And then, as the plan needs to be adjusted, Krishna will help me adjust it. The essence is not the plan. The essence is the mood of being in Krishna service. Learn it now, because if you don't learn it now, you'll learn it later. And learning it later won't be easier. You'll be hung by your heels and shaken upside down till you learn it. Because you need to learn it. So learn it now instead of the other way. Because Krishna is kind, he'll turn you upside down and hold you by the heels and shake you till you, all right. Your plan. But the essence is the mood of wanting to be in the service to Krishna. And that's the best plan. And the details are details. The essence is the essence. The details are details. And details can be adjusted, that's fine. Okay. Okay. Go ahead. There we go. There we go. You chanted how many? 108?
No, I chanted 65 rounds, Maharaj.
Okay, I was joking.
Yeah.
Just like going for a walk at the lake, and I promise you there'll be no distractions. That was also a joke. in case the editorial wasn't clear. Go ahead.
Maharaj, one thing that really helped me with my chanting this year was when you went really deep into the 10 offenses.
When I did what?
When you went really deep in talking about the 10 offenses. We went really deep into that. Yeah.
How did that help you? Describe.
Well, we obviously we say them every morning, and we know that they're sorry. I'm nervous. We say them.
She takes after her mom.
We recite them every morning, and we always practice we always know to practice not to to avoid them. But when you really went deep and we really talked about what they were and how different forms of how they especially the first one Vaishnava Aparad, that one really resonated with me because there was 6 different ways of offending Vaishnavas, and some of them were ways that I hadn't even thought of, and so I was kind of reflecting on myself and thinking times that I could have been offensive or something that. Yeah. And another one that really resonated with me is the one that's to be inattentive while chanting. That's also one that I've heard multiple times, and I know that it's something to avoid, but when you really went into it and talked about the consequences and everything, it really resonated with me, and I was really trying not to be inattentive while chanting.
Good.
And
how did you score yourself in being attentive while chanting?
I think in the beginning I was very, very attentive, and then I got really tired, and so I had to start walking around, and when I was walking, I was
distracted.
Distracted. So, and another thing was you had said to be really present when you're chanting, when you say Krishna's name, you have to be there, and because Krishna's listening to you, and and also Hemangi Mataji had said that she had made a point where she talked about how everyone thinks that Krishna is so far away, and he's all the way over there, but really he's in your heart and he's really close to you. And so that actually really helped me when I was chanting, because I was thinking he's right here, I have to be present because
Did you
he's right
feel
here.
that?
Yes.
Besides,
Yeah.
cognitive, you felt it.
Yes, I felt it. When I was attentive, I felt it. And another thing were like the meditations on the wall. Whenever I was feeling like very like tired or distracted, I would look, and there was this one meditation that I remember, and it was like, Krishna, please, I pray to you that you make me understand that you are non-different than your name. And those meditations like really helped me. Like each round I chanted, I focused on one that was on the wall. And so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I thought we would get you to volunteer. This is a nice devotee from another city, sun country. What's the temperature in Arizona today?
More than double, I believe.
More than 100?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In centigrade, actually, I was comparing Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
In centigrades, I was comparing, it was exactly 18 here and then 36 there. I took a screenshot of it. 18 degrees centigrade here.
You got to speak into the microphone. Go ahead. You don't have to repeat that. I got it.
So 18 degrees was here, and then 36 was in Phoenix, double.
Okay.
It's not just in Fahrenheit, it's in centigrade. By the way, Maharaj, I completed 32 rounds today for the first time in my life.
32?
Yes,
Okay.
32. And first, actually, last night I was thinking about how to do this chanting and develop a concentration. I remember that you were telling when you say Krishna, Krishna, on that, when you, the tongue twists, right? Krishna, when you say Krishna, the tongue twists, and then Krishna comes and dances here.
Yeah.
So I was imagining like, we chant Krishna 4 times in that mantra, right? So first 2 Krishnas, I was Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, I was focusing my mind here, imagining that Krishna is here. And then on the third Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. And then I was like creating a symbol of love. So Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. And then I did like 7, 8 times, rounds, and then I was trying to experience, to touch the courtyard of my heart, but that was not.
Your mind was too active to be focused on your heart.
I could. And say Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, and then there is no more Krishna in the Mahamantra. So I struggled for 8 rounds, and then I was experiencing something. I was seeing Krishna there, closing my eyes, doing chanting for 8 rounds, taking extra time than what I was doing before. And after that, I realized, I looked at my clock, and then for 8 rounds, it took more than an hour, 10 minutes. Okay, I cannot finish 30 rounds in before 1 o'clock. Then all other rounds, like remaining 24 rounds, they were mostly mechanical, like walking around and then enjoying the chanting of others. I really enjoyed this, and then really they gave me inspiration. And for me today, doing 32 rounds was not a challenge.
And chant 32 rounds was?
Not a challenge for me.
Not a challenge
Not
for
a
you.
challenge, yeah. But this helps me to continue at least 16 rounds a day, which I started 6 weeks when you came to Phoenix. The day after you left Phoenix, then I started day 1, 16 rounds, because I was inspired by other devotees doing 64 rounds on that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started from that day, and then until yesterday I was doing 16 rounds.
Piece of cake, right?
Yeah, and now it's 16 rounds is, yeah, today I feel like once I go back, 16 rounds is nothing. So before I, once I get up and before I step out the door, I want to finish up 16 rounds and then step out.
See when somebody speaks really fast, how it's hard to understand them? Could you understand? You can understand everything?
Are you able to understand? Were you able to understand?
She's from New York. And when you speak, you speak, no, you don't have to say it again. It's okay. It's okay. But this is just, being a little sensitive of different cultures. We have to speak slowly because not everybody understands our diction. Don't say it again, please.
No. I just got an idea.
But you got an idea.
Yeah, while talking to you now,
Take
I got
a picture
an idea.
of it.
Yeah, the love symbol, right? So, Maharaj, it just occurred to me just now.
Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, the first word, and Hare Krishna, and then Krishna Krishna. The Krishna Krishna.
What happened to Hari Hari?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So maybe that should help. Maybe that should help.
All right. Take the microphone from him. Well, anyone else on the ladies' side? Because we're at 10 minutes after. Anyone else would like to volunteer? Otherwise, we'll wrap up over here. Going once. Going twice. A half. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. There were two things that really helped me. One was I started my chanting today just with the intention of just trying to be attentive. That's something that I really struggle with.
Okay.
And so when I started much earlier than usual, that timing in itself was very helpful for me.
The first rounds when you were trying to be attentive were attentive. And then,
mostly.
And then
there was a break when I came to Mangalarti, and then it was sort of restarting the momentum, and so it was more a mechanical process of bringing the mind back. And then I started meditating on Prema Tarangani Mataji and Himangi Mataji's presentation on the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, and especially the point of the rope. And I found that it moved to a different platform of, rather than mechanically like, okay, I'm going to focus the mind, it was now that inspiration made me naturally want to hear the chanting. And it was really, especially the rope was a very powerful experience, because I was chanting toward Srila Prabhupada and then toward the deities, back and forth most of the time. And so that feel like similar to what Mataji expressed about the beads being that rope. And then that experience...
Slow down.
Sorry, Maharaj.
The back and forth, it was very helpful. And then what happened?
Then it just sort of hit me, similar to what Mataji was expressing about the beads being that rope. And then just the visual of seeing, going closer and closer to Kishore was a really, really just powerful vision for me, and very inspiring as well. And then that meditation went one step further, where I saw you and the other devotees helping me to hold on to that rope. And so I was seeing that's the service of the devotees.
Nice.
So thank you, Maharaj.
Nice. Well. No. We've run out of time. Summary and take home. That's our time now. We're followers of Rupa Goswami. Prabhupada has written, Rupanugas, followers of Rupa Goswami. And Rupa Goswami has identified of all the items of devotional service, 5 are most potent. And any one of those 5, according to Rupa Goswami, if we perform any one of those 5 without offense, the potency is there that instantly, not like quickly, but instantly, ecstasy leading to love of God awakens. And of all those 5 activities, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, without the long description, the chanting of the holy name. Because the chanting of the holy name leads to the others. It's the most important. To chant without offense, to chant with great faith, to chant when we're not worried about the future, we're just with Krishna. Chant and be present with Krishna. And that's our assignment. And many times during sharings like this, as for example, we heard in the beginning, focus on something, attentiveness, faith, something. And then the affinity of the mind to go, as we heard, other processes don't have the power to take that affinity away. But bhakti does, has the power. So if we just stay in the mood of being the servant of the servant of the servant, in the case of chanting of the holy name can carry us to that place where affinity is gone. We can't do that on our own. The thing that we can do is strive, endeavor. That's in the language of Bhagavad Gita, that one of the 5 factors of action is we endeavor. And we're dependent upon the mercy, the descending mercy of Krishna, and then the alignment of the other 3 items of action. So then we can make that connection with Krishna. So it's a lifelong journey, and the depth of that journey, we don't even have a clue. We can read from our acharyas where it takes us, but even to read from our acharyas where it takes us, we don't have a clue. It gives us a clue, but the frame of reference, we cannot know until we have that experience ourselves. So we have to go through the step by step, the cleansing, just as that these excellences of the holy name, Chaita Darpana Marjanam. And as someone was sharing, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, you were sharing, Srinath. Shreya Kairava Chandrika, etc. We just stay with the process. Those experiences will be our experiences, and that itself will nourish the faith because of the direct experience. We strive to chant with faith, but the experience will give very strength and give even more substantial faith. So that's our journey. And coming together like this, a metaphor that I've used many times, I like, supposing there's a big fire. We have a campfire, and you gather some sticks and twigs and then some bigger pieces and some logs, and you build a big fire, and after some time the fire subsides and there's just some embers. It's kind of like we come together for a function like this, and there's this fire of Nam Sankirtan. We enter into the fire and it feels warm, it's nice. And then we go back to business as usual and wish, I want that experience again. So events like this, it's like taking the coals, the embers, and bringing them together, and just a little fanning, and the flame comes out again. So as we progress in Krishna consciousness, seek out association, not just have a remembrance of what we did together, but take the messages that meant something special to you and just do this. Fan the spark. And by fanning the spark then becomes a flame. And you continue adding some more fuel to the flame and it becomes a blaze. That's our process. And it can be internal as well as external. Giving to others as well as nourishing Krishna consciousness within ourselves. I recommend that you, because after this we're going to do some other things, take 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever, and write, just in a reflective mood, write some things down that you feel you can take with you tomorrow morning when you anticipate, taking rest at night tonight, and I want to stay focused on my quality chanting of japa, and these are things that I want to apply, as we heard some individuals sharing. And then apply them, over a period of time, not just one day, but over a period of time. That's the fanning that spark, and let it become a flame. And when that attraction is awakened, Krishna will send other resources or other inspirations or other association or something else that'll enhance that flame. Another piece of fuel to keep the flame going. And it may be different than the one that you brought with you from this experience this weekend. The internal cultivation of Krishna consciousness, in other words, through hearing and applying what you're hearing. And then applying what you're hearing, something happens, faith grows. And as faith grows, Krishna sends some other resources, and then the flame grows and the faith grows, and it just continued, this cultivation effort. Now, according to our schedule, I'm not sure what should we do? It's 3:20, and according to the schedule, we're going to go till 4:30. Are we going to go till 4:30? Who has to leave and go somewhere? Several persons have to go somewhere. So, what should we do? 4 o'clock. Well, one thing that I've been wanting to do, there were too many people to do it earlier. In this knapsack or backpack, I have Radha Govinda Mahaprasadam. I want to make sure I give it out to everybody. I want to have an empty backpack. But if I start to go around and do that, then the show's over. The show's over. You can walk around and give some out. Okay. So if we're going to do the questions and answers, here's how we commonly do the question and answer session. And people like that a lot. But we're not prepared. We don't have a piece of paper. You've got some paper. And a pen, and you write down your questions. We take a few minutes and you get a stack like this, and I can't finish them all. That's one way to do it. Or just ask. Anybody have a question about anything under the sun you'd like to ask? We could try that way. Anybody have an opinion? Huh? You have a question? Anything under the sun? Anything under the sun. You have a few? Okay. So how about this? Those that have to leave, I'm going to give a box to Yasodanandan, and he's going to see your hand raised, and those that don't have to leave, we'll see you at the end. Is that okay? So we're gonna launch into question answers and anything at all about anything at all. And then we'll go till 4:15 and see how we're doing. Okay. You're leaving. Oh. So put your hand up. Those that have to leave soon, put your hand up so Yasodanandana can find you. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I wanted to know, because I'm a little confused. I heard from different people, different ideas, how to meditate, how to chant.
How to do what?
How to chant Hare Krishna mantra with open eyes or closed? Is it the way, what is for better concentration?
It can be either. Which do you prefer?
I found myself with closed eyes, I can concentrate 75% to 50%. With open eyes, 1%.
Okay. Well, there's the
Only
answer to
one.
the question. Here's something that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote. It was an if, it's an either or, but he was saying if you have difficulty remaining attentive while chanting, this, then go to a room that's dark. If you wish, you could put on a blindfold, so even if you want to open your eyes, you can't. And just total silence. Now that's not the way to do it, it's one of the ways to do it. There's a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know who was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Okay. So a devotee that lived in Vrindavan, he lived at the southernmost end of Govardhan Hill. He did his chanting in a cave. In fact, to get into the cave, you have to go down under the ground, and he would chant his japa in a cave. So there would be no noise from anything. Here it's like, the airplane flying over, you can hear it right now, and this and that. So that was what he did. But that's not the way. That's what he did. So if something works best for you, the main consideration is hearing the sound vibration, and let the sound vibration enter your ear. So to have the sound vibration enter your ear, you have to make the sound. I'll give you another thing that you can do, if you want. If you find that your mind is wandering and you're not being so attentive, it's a trick of the mind that you then focus on making the sound vibration clear. Because to monitor if you're making the sound vibration clear, you have to hear. So focus on articulating the sound clearly. Then you're hearing. To monitor if you're articulating the sound clearly. But the main thing is hearing. So whatever works. There was some question in the course of this weekend. Niyamatak smarane nakala. It's one of the verses of Shikshastakam that says, niyama is a Sanskrit word that means restrictions or rules and regulations, do nots. So there's no niyamas. Eyes open, eyes closed. The main thing is hearing. You can do it this way, you can do it that way. The main thing is hearing. And something that takes your attention away from hearing, then you bring your mind back to hearing, however, whatever works for you. It may be closing your eyes. It may be calling the name more loudly. It may be taking a break, reading something inspirational, letting that something inspirational go inside, and then resuming chanting, etc. Some particular prayer, opening your heart through some prayer that resonates with you, and periodically go back and revisit that prayer that opens your heart, so we can. But however, whatever. Hear the sound. It's not a rule. Opening or closing eyes. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question was, the 10th offense is to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names. So we understand that one of the best remedial measures to get over the Namaparad is constant chanting. So I'm just curious, at our stage and in general, if you might elaborate on that as a principle. And also I noticed one of the sessions we didn't have time for was entitled Entering Nam Bhajan. And I was very inquisitive about that title. I was wondering if you could share anything.
Well, that's the second question first. The schedule had to be adjusted because I left out the introductory presentation, and so that one got dropped out. And the intention was to share some contemplations or appreciations for Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writing. You know, for an audience, appropriate scale of presenting. And so the constant chanting, taking in practical context, people have jobs, they go to school, they have a lifestyle that can't permit them to constantly chant, or even in the association of devotees, just like right now. We're not in between words, saying the Hare Krishna mantra, and then the next word, and then the Hare Krishna mantra, and the next word, Hare Krishna mantra. I know somebody that tried to do that. His name was Ushik Prabhu, Prabhupada disciple. He was a little eccentric. But the intention was to follow the instruction. So how in practical terms, how do we to follow such instruction? Well, it's more than just the minimum, completing our prescribed vows of chanting. Rather, it's hankering for when there's some discretionary time to do more chanting, and more chanting leads to more chanting. Maximizing it, so that's when there is, on an advanced stage, where there's taste and attachment for the holy name. Now, way over here on the clearing of offenses, it's the dutiful I wish to become free not just from the reactions of the offense, but the tendency for offense. So with faith, the operative principle is faith. By taking ongoing and extra shelter of the name, based upon the faith that the name will take me on the other side of this tendency. That's a practical application. It can then, depending upon our life circumstance, it can expand and extend.
I also just want to explore a little bit the dynamic, because we understand that chanting of the holy name is the most important principle of devotional service.
Yeah, I stated that earlier, yeah.
It's
of
where
the five, it's the most important.
All of our emphasis is going there, and the other aspects of bhakti are meant to increase that taste. But at the same time, we have experienced that we may not be having that taste when we take up the chanting. We may not be able to take full shelter of the holy name.
Sure.
So I'm just curious, what is it, the other elements of our sadhana, doing practical service preaching, that infuses our attraction for the holy name? There's we have recourse to other avenues of devotional activities which engender deeper taste. So I'm just curious, what is that principle that is allowing us to get more relish from our chanting, whereas if we just try to chant, we may not be having that taste?
Well, the active principle is intention. Some of the references that we presented during this weekend include the fruit of all the Vedas is to know Krishna. So, and the topmost of all of those Vedas is Srimad Bhagavatam, that reveals Krishna, and the topmost revelation about the subject matter of Krishna is the name. So it doesn't mean we don't care about the rest of the Vedas, we don't care about the rest of the Bhagavatam, we just care about the name. All of those things nourish. And similarly, other services that arise because of our nature, psychophysical nature, from chanting, and somebody likes to do different services. And so it's helpful to be mindful, what's the fruit of that? Or what's the goal of that? What's the essence of that? While we're doing those other things. In the mood of humble service towards this goal of taking shelter. So in that way, even the operative principle is the intention. And the light may not be on so strong in the beginning, but as we progress, the light gets stronger. It all leads to that one thing, and that one thing leads us to that one thing. The Bhagavatam is the perfect nourisher for shelter in the holy name. Just like that one verse, Etan Navidyamananam Ichatam Akatobayam Yoginam Ripinirnitam Harer Nama. So this is that was quoted, Canto 2, Chapter 1, spoken by Shukadev. After describing the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, he gives the essence of what the Srimad Bhagavatam is, which is the chanting of the holy name. And I'm sure you've done this because of your fascination for the holy name, and I've done this just because my fascination for the Bhagavatam, which says in unexpected moments in the narration of some topic, here comes the holy name. And then back to the narration, and then another narration, and here comes the holy name, and then another narration. It's not an accident. It's the Bhagavatam. It's bringing our attention to, in this ripened fruit of all the Vedas, Srimad Bhagavatam, it's bringing our attention to the gift of Lord Chaitanya. Okay. Any other? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have one question about the first offense against the chanting of the holy name. In the presentation, you said blaspheming the devotees.
Sadhu Ninda.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could help me understand the difference between a criticism and a discrimination.
Sure. There's a nice little, remind me, I probably won't forget, but remind me in case I forget. There's a little question, morning walk conversation or something like that with Tamal Krishna Maharaj asking Prabhupada, what's the difference between, discrimination and fault finding and calling a spade a spade? And Prabhupada, his first response was, to say that you are foolish, that's calling a spade a spade. What are the other two? Just, stating what's what. That's the spiritual master to his disciple, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who needed his ego to be, checked a bit. So, fault finding is arises from envy, meaning I wish to see somebody who may look like they're here, not be here, to be down there. I want to place myself above that person, and therefore I fault find, and I forget exactly how. Are you looking it up? You have it? Okay, you want to recite it?
This is Tamal Krishna Maharaj asking Srila Prabhupada.
Louder.
Tamal Krishna Maharaj asking Srila Prabhupada. He says, what is the way to draw the line between the following three things? Blasphemy, fault-finding, and calling a spade a spade. Prabhupada, a spade, just like I am saying that what you are a small fig only. That is reality. And what is the other? Tamal Krishna. The other is fault-finding. Prabhupada, fault-finding, that is another fault. Just like the flies, they are finding out where is sore, and the bees, they are finding out where there is honey. So two animals, they have got two business, fault-finding and collecting the good things.
Fault-finding and?
Collecting the good things. These are two, just like creature. They are two classes. Similarly, there are many rascals who are simply fault-finding. Tamal Krishna. And blasphemy? Prabhupada, blasphemy means that you have good qualities, but still I am defaming you. Tamal Krishna. So the saintly person tends to overlook the bad qualities and see the good ones. Prabhupada, yes. Should I continue?
No, that's good. That's good. Now, discrimination is like what Krishna... Is that her? The talkative one? Shh. Okay. To see as Krishna sees is discrimination. So let's just say that there's the modes of nature. Here's the mode of goodness. Here's the mode of passion. Here's the mode of ignorance. This is what they look like. That's discrimination. fault finding is having an attitude about this one or that one or the other one. Discrimination is seeing what's what. Krishna sees what's what. It's his energy. He describes what his energy does and looks like. And discrimination is to see as Krishna sees. Not with dvesha or ill regard towards this variety or that variety of the display of the material energy. Yeah. Yes.
So I was thinking, kind of just like what you were just saying. You know, sometimes I can't really wake up early to chant before work, and so what happens is the entire day goes past, and now we're in the mode of passion, right? And I can kind of chant then, but if I wait until it's the mode of ignorance, it's like impossible. Even if I'm home, right, alone, it's really hard to chant at night. So I was wondering, what is the difference between the mode of passion and mode of ignorance in terms of practicality?
In terms of?
Like, scratch that part in terms of just, like, in terms of spirituality, like in practice.
In terms of spirituality, how do the two compare?
Yeah, like what's the difference? Are they? Because I know they're both like bad, right?
Well,
the one's obviously better.
I'm
than
a little
the other.
confused by your question. Let me sort through the question a little bit before I respond to the question. The not being able to get up in the morning. There's some other people in the room. I won't look at them because they know they have a problem getting up in the morning. That's not a symptom of passion. It's not a symptom of goodness. It's a symptom of ignorance.
No, that's not what I meant.
That's not what you meant.
I meant like in the morning, that's the time of goodness, right? Like that's
At the time of?
Of goodness, right?
Business?
Goodness. Like that's the pure time to chant.
Okay.
And so if you don't chant in the morning.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Right. And then later on comes, right? That's like passion time, right? And then comes ignorance.
For sure.
So what is the difference from the passion time and the ignorance time?
Oh, well, ignorance is you're asleep and passion is you're doing stuff. I'm not sure what your question is. Are you sure what your question is?
No, you kind of answered it, kind of. So you're saying that the mode of ignorance is like when you're sleeping.
Yeah. Or lazy, or lamenting, or morose, or angry.
I thought these three modes had specific time zones.
No, you can be in the mode of ignorance anytime.
Yeah. But I thought like time in terms of time, those were different.
There's general, before the busy day begins, that's the mode of goodness. Before the sun rises and in the early morning hours as the sun is rising. Those are, generally speaking, mode of goodness. And then, zoom, mode of passion. And then wind down and do mode of ignorance things before you go to sleep, and then mode of ignorance, sleep. So those are general. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
That's good.
You made it easy. I thought you were asking something else. Yes.
Guru Maharaj, we always hear like we should take association of, pure devotees.
We should stay in the association of pure devotees.
Okay. And then, if I take example of Prahlad Maharaj, he was contained in the time of Hiranyakashipu.
He wasn't a pure devotee, Hiranyakashipu.
No. I mean, Prahlad stayed
I know.
contained.
I'm just repeating back because some people can't understand what you're saying.
And then, after the pastime of nursing Dev. He became king.
He became king.
And all of a sudden, he was hankering for association. And
not all of a sudden. Even when he was in front of Lord Nrsingadev, he was hankering for Narada's association.
Yes. And later he took the association of Avadhut.
Later what happened?
He went and take association of Avadhut.
An Avadhut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very
a saintly person.
Yes.
That's just one passage. I mean, you don't know all the details of his life. But you should understand the hankering for saintly association was in his heart. And he received that association of Narada just by remembering Narada's instructions, just like Arjuna was receiving Krishna's association by remembering Krishna's instructions. That's a way that we can get association, by remembering instructions and living with them. That's another kind of association. So you're picking some excerpts from the whole narration of Prahlad, but there's this whole life. Whole life. And you know, that hankering was from the time he was within the womb of his mother, hearing from Narada. That's where that hankering came from. Does that answer your question? So we don't know all the details, but that hankering was a consistent hankering. I'm just going to see if there's other people that have some question. Oh, way over there.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, I have a question regarding the offenses to the holy name. One of the things that I was contemplating, like for me in my daily sadhana, I take more inspiration from the positive aspect of where I should focus on. And I don't do the practice of reciting the 10 offenses. I'm aware of them, but I don't make it a practice of doing it like a daily recitation or a meditation. And one of the things that I'm relating is because even when I hear the topic of 10 offenses, my first impression is it brings fear. And then I think that fear would not take me anywhere.
No.
I would rather do something positive and...
Well, no, but I tried to explain that when we were going over. But, okay, you're riding in your car, and this nice lady comes on and says, in 1 mile, you're going to have to exit 39B, mark such and such. That's not fear. That's, pay attention. In 1 mile from now, you're going to have to turn right at exit 39B. Such and such street. And then, in a half mile, then in 100 yards, it's not fear. It's, to make sure you get to your destination. The 10 offenses are all, don't stay in the left lane, get in the right lane because the exit is to the right. So it's just, so there's some precaution. Let's take a practical example of sadhu ninda. Not fear, because we're getting instruction, appropriate instruction. You're going along the path of life, and here comes a situation where there's a sadhu coming, and you don't feel, oh, I have to feel fear because I may offend the sadhu. You know how to properly conduct yourself, and you're cautious in ways that you should be cautious, not fearful, but, respecting the sadhu. Not fear. It's not... It could feel like that, but it's not meant to be like that. Just be careful. Here's another one, just like the example. I don't know if you were here when I came. Subal has a GPS feature that tells you when there's a police trap ahead. I'm sure others do, but I've never been in a car when they tell you, slow down. Now, supposing somebody's within the speed limit, no problem. If they're breaking the speed limit, then there may be some fear. And then they slow down. So, for sadhu ninda, for you that's not a problem. But you do need to be wary a cultured person is certainly wary of offending a sadhu. We seek the association of a sadhu, and when seeking, we want to be careful. Not fear. I mean, as a mother, you can make mistakes as a mother. So you don't have to be fearful, oh, I better not be a mother because I might make some mistakes. But you should know what those mistakes are, and you avoid those mistakes, not out of fear, but you want to be a good mother. That's the purpose. And a good wife, and a good devotee, and you worship the deity. Oh, there's all these deity worship offenses, and maybe I shouldn't worship a deity because I... Not like that. Okay. Yes, right here. Yes, yes.
Question on offenses.
On?
Offenses.
Offenses.
Hearing other people criticizing Vedic literature or holy name.
Yeah.
What that means and how to avoid it. Like, does it mean hearing and believing, hearing and considering it might be true, or hearing and not believing at all, but ignoring kind of the speaker, but not walking away?
Let me say back what I think you're asking, and I probably got it wrong. I'm a new person, and I have these literatures, and I'm reading these literatures. Is it an offense, as I'm reading these literatures, to have an inquisitiveness and say, well, how is this? Or how is that? And is that offensive? Because I don't want to offend. That's not your question.
No. The word is hear. H-E-A, yes, hear. There was one offense when you criticizing or you hear criticism.
So you want to know what to do when you hear criticism?
Yes. And what it is, what exactly it is. Like,
what exactly it is.
Yes, like you believing it or you not speaking up.
Well, I think we know what criticism is. So if we say it, or if we hear another person say it, we know what it is. It's like this question over here of discrimination and criticism. So discrimination, a common negative or pejorative use of the word discrimination is racial discrimination. So a criticism is the color of your skin is the wrong color. You're not like me. You're the wrong color. That's racial discrimination. But, then it's not discrimination in the negative sense if you say, this person's from China, and that person's from Russia, and that person's from India, and that person's from Ireland, and that person's from America. You're just without a negative sense, just stating what's what. Somebody may have dual citizenship and like that. So that's not, I'm using a simple example to say criticism is thinking or speaking negatively in a condescending, I'm up here, you're down there kind of a mood. Criticizing. I can do that to myself, what to speak of somebody else. I can just beat myself up. Or I can understand, here's some areas that I need improvement in. That's discrimination, and that in a good sense. Here's some area of strength, here's some area of weakness. So if we do the same thing to someone else, this person, here's a devotee, that's a strength. And this particular devotee, they make a commitment to do something, and then they don't keep that commitment. They have a tendency to not keep that commitment. They said they're going to be, it is, you know, I know somebody, I won't say their name, that they're regularly late. Now, I could criticize that person for being, or I could recognize this is just a trait of that individual, and I adjust my life accordingly. When I want to be at a certain place and go with that person, I plan, you know, 10 minutes before I really, you get the idea. I make some adjustment because of that character of the person. I'm not criticizing the person. It's just part of who they are. They're a little bit late. That's not a criticism. It's just an acknowledgement of a certain trait of that person. But if I start speaking against the person, you know that person, see the distinction? So now, hearing there's degrees of criticism, and that the response when you hear criticism is in degrees. But it's very detrimental to be in the association of someone whose life is criticizing. In one of the examples that we showed on the screen was Ramchandra Puri, who was pointing at the ants on the ground. Remember that image? He criticized his spiritual master, Madhavendra Puri, saying, why you should be chanting mantras and instead you're saying names of the gopis. What's wrong with you? His spiritual master was in a mood of ecstatic love, calling the dear friends of Radharani by their name. And his disciple came in, heard him doing this, and started criticizing. What are you doing? What's wrong with you? Correcting his spiritual master. His Madhavendra Puri said, please leave this place at once. I don't want to ever see you again. I hope I don't die seeing your face. Please leave. He rejected him. That same Ramchandra Puri continued doing the same thing with other people and other people and other people and other people, looking for something to criticize. So now, what to do when you hear someone that's like that? That was your question. Stay away from them. There's scriptural injunction. And the most appropriate one is you leave. You say to the person, I've been trained to not hear this kind of thing. I'm not spiritually elevated enough to digest it. So could you please not speak this way? Because if you continue speaking this way, I'm going to have to leave. That's one option. Another option is you defeat them in argument. But, you know, some people, they're not ready to be defeated in argument. They'll argue till the cows come home. And then a third option, which we don't do, but to show the severity of hearing, is you take your life. Because it's better to take your life than to hear that severe kind of criticism. It's spiritual death, not just death of the body. So we don't do that one. And some persons, we don't really want to argue with anybody, so you leave the place. You just excuse yourself, or politely, I gotta go now. And then you don't intimately associate with the person like that. You just keep a distance. And then somebody that's qualified may help that person overcome that tendency. But less than qualified person shouldn't mess, because it's toxic, spiritually. So instead, we've been doing what we've been doing. We're promoting, we respect the devotees. We see all devotees, Vaishnavas, as masters who we wish to serve. You promote that consciousness, and then there's somebody over there that isn't in that consciousness. Keep a distance from that person. We seek the good association and be cautious about the other kind. And sometimes, like in a temple, we just have to ban somebody. We don't like to do that. But if they're like that, you know, here's the line in the sand. You can't come in here and do that. If you continue to do that, we're going to have to ask you to not come back, because it's contaminating the association of devotees, whoever you may speak to. Now that's really, really rare, but it can happen. I've seen it happen. That's for the protection, spiritual protection of the community of devotees. But now for yourself in person, avoid that association, and if it comes out, I don't want to hear this. Take this to somebody that's more advanced than me. You have a concern, go to the right place. That's not me. And if you insist on continuing, I'm going to have to leave. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Over here. Two more after this, and we may have to end. 3:30.
Guru Maharaj, I have a follow-up to this question.
Okay.
A scenario where we are in a devotee association and we have close friends, and sometimes they come and they share their hurt feeling by some other relationship, and because of the closeness they come and share those feelings with us, and they're talking about a third person who's not involved but is their hurtful feeling. Now when we are at the side of the recipient of or hearing that conversation, how do we address that? Is that considered as hearing a criticism of third person?
No. It depends on, the harshness and the severity of the feelings and the words spoken behind those, what's in front of the feelings is the words. Depends. But a lot also depends on your response, and so that's your question, is your response. Depends on the person, but you could say, saying all of this to me isn't going to help the situation. If you'd like to help the situation, here's some options for you. Go speak directly to the person. Oh, no, I can't speak to the other person because blah, blah, blah. Then speak to somebody who is a senior, a village elder, or someone who they look up to, or some spiritual managerial authority, but not in the mood of complaining about that person, but in the mood of wishing to be of service to that person. And commonly all of those get dismissed. I just want to down dump on you. Well, please don't do that. Let me give you a path that's in the mood of service.
So many a time I have noticed that those people, they don't have they don't know how to say I messages, so they are expressing their hurt feelings and they don't know how to use the right words.
Well, train them up. You've got some training in that area. You can say, however it suits you. I've been in a space like that before. where I'm feeling feelings like you're sharing with me. And here's something that I've learned. Then you share what you've learned. And then you ask them, do you want to try it? I mean, not necessarily on this particular episode, but just in principle. Was this something you would like to learn how to do that, so you don't have to carry these feelings and be overwhelmed by these feelings? Become, be in service to that person, to help them get on the other side of more of the same and more of the same, with no place to go. Okay, 2 additional questions and we're out of time. In response to a question, you mentioned that if you have committed an offense to a devotee, then you can go and speak to the devotee and express your feelings, taking full responsibility for them. What do I do when that devotee responds immaturely and speaks rudely, or even goes around saying negative things about me because I took the time to become vulnerable and clarify the situation? Well, again, it depends. This is this discrimination question that Madhava Gauranga posed. I may choose, if I have such an experience as described here, I may choose just to take a step or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 back from that devotee and just pray for their well-being. Some people are just like this. It's not about you, it's about the person that has tendency like this. In other words, if you aren't on their target, somebody else is going to be on their target, and after that person moves off their target, somebody else is on their target. And everybody knows this person is like that. They just target people and throw darts at them. Just the nature of the person. It's not about you. And so if you're in the mood of wishing to be in service to another and transparent in a relationship with somebody, is there a willingness on the other person's part to have a transparent relationship? And if you find, no, they're not willing, they just like, doing what's described here, then you step back and from a distance you wish well of that person. Wish well of the person means, here's at least a couple things. Behind that tendency that's being described here, there's a lot of pain. There's this saying, if you knew the pain and the tribulations of another person, you can easily forgive them. Because behind behavior like this is a lot of pain. Something's really hurting inside that person to do something like this. So rather than be angry with them or something, compassion, pray for them, be their well-wisher. Even if it's remotely, be their well-wisher. Don't get into a tussle with the material energy. You'll lose. Or again, somebody that's in a superior position to them, who they look up to or something, and see if that's somebody, at least, you present, I may have a distorted picture of the situation, but here's my picture of that situation, and I think this person is good at heart, but they need some help. So I don't know if you're in a position to help them, but if you are, if you can see a way that they can be helped, please do so, because I'm not. I wish them well. Okay. I heard that in Kali Yuga the mind is so degraded, So the offenses done in the mind are not really considered as offense. Is that true? Well, the answer is yeah, but. And the yeah, but is, it's not in and of itself an offense, but if it's in the mind, likely it's going to come out through the mouth or through your actions. So you're not held responsible for what's in your mind, but it's likely to come out. So cleanse the mind. You have a question on this one? You want to add something to this? Okay, but let me. Okay. Inattentiveness is considered as mother of all offenses. So, if we fix inattentiveness, all offenses will be addressed. Well, the potential is yes, because the light will go on with all of the other ones. The essence of attentiveness is the mind goes to Krishna. And if the mind goes to Krishna, then the soul goes to Krishna. And when the soul goes to Krishna, the light's on, and you can deal with these other things in a proper manner. The sadhu, the names, the scripture, guru, and so forth. Sinning, they all become illumined. Wow. How can one engage all the five senses while chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra? I never heard that question before. The standard way that Prabhupada would describe how to engage all the senses is it follows the mind. That Ambarish Maharaj verse, Savai Manak Krishna Padara Vindayo, and then all of the other senses follow the mind. So if the mind goes to the Mahamantra, then one can be chanting the Mahamantra softly while preparing oneself for deity worship and while in the kitchen and doing the other things that one does, because as that verse of Maharaj Ambarish describes, it's not necessarily simultaneously all five senses are engaged while doing this one thing. But when the mind is engaged, then the senses will be spiritualized by meditation upon Krishna while engaging in activity. Perform prescribed duty and always think of me, Krishna says. So the always think of him as best agent is the Mahamantra. Think of him. And then prescribed duties of different activity, different senses engaged in different ways.
Maharaj, in the aparad of Guru Avagya, Guru aparad, one of the last was mentioned to not present instructions one has heard from a different source to the spiritual master. So in our society, which is more or less geared towards a wide variety of hearing, for example, Bhagavatam class,
sure,
it's expected that there will be. But what is the dividing line, or what is the points which would need to be? Because in one sense we're not really hearing different instructions, but is it a different mood, or is it a different way it's instructed?
Mood is diverse just as personalities are. So if it's a principle or an application of a principle that's different, that's where the concern comes. So I'm sitting in a class, supposing I'm sitting in a class, and it's given by one of my godbrothers, and one of my godbrothers is emphasizing that, and then another godbrother is emphasizing something else. my responsibility is to understand what is the intention and instruction of my spiritual master. In my case, it's Prabhupada. But so my godbrother is saying this, and another godbrother is saying that, on the same point. On the same point. I mean, I'll take a... because well, one of the longest purports in Brahma Samhita is, this is an application example, where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is describing the nature of relationship with the gopis, Radharani, and Krishna. And is it Swakiya or Parakiya? So without the detail, in Gopal Champu, it seems that Jiva Goswami is leaning in a direction that's different than what Rupa Goswami has said in that subject. Bhaktisiddhanta claims, asserts, it's not possible for Jiva Goswami to have a position different than Rupa Goswami. So, how am I, as a reader, when if I read Gopal Champu and it looks like he's saying this over here, and some people say he's saying this over there, and others say it's not something over there. So how do you reconcile it? Rupa Goswami, and that in that way, and somebody else is saying something else, I'm not going to accept it. Although they may have the reasons and logic and so forth. So it's a principle or an application of a principle, not different moods. Okay, we're going to end, and I have some Mahaprasadam in this little bag here. So I'm going to walk around and give out some Mahaprasadam from this little bag. Madhavangal.